All right, this is how we start these. We start with a overvalued, undervalued. I'm gonna hit you with like 10 questions, just rapid fire really quick. And then we'll get into, I have so many questions for what you do. Like, Jets are interesting, so this will be fun. All right, number one, overvalued, undervalued. Using AI tools to replace entry-level roles.
That's undervalued. I feel like there's a lot of growth there.
Buying a blue check verification to boost credibility.
Overvalued.
Bootstrapping. Past $1 million in revenue before raising outside capital.
Undervalued.
Building a founder's personal brand before launching a product or service.
Kind of in between on that. I see the value. I'd say it's probably more overvalued.
Hiring your smart friends as the first 5 employees.
Or overvalued. Never do that.
Treating 80 to 100-hour work weeks as a startup badge of honor.
Undervalued.
Outsourcing core ops, finance, customer support, marketing to freelancers instead of building in-house.
Overvalued.
Leaning into the young CEO narrative to win press coverage and investors.
Overvalued.
Cold DM selling.
I feel like that could work, so undervalued to an extent.
Kolin Jones. Let's start with this. Who is the typical avatar for somebody who's going to book a jet with you guys?
For us, it's shifted. Like the average age of someone that buys a private jet, I think went from like 55 roughly to like 36, 37. So founder, CEO, principal owns their own company revenue anywhere from like usually 2 to 500 million. Obviously, we have people that are well above that, that has a need for travel. Right now, we're still about 70%, I'd say, leisure travel. So most people, weekend trips, fun stuff like that. And then 30% business. I mean, a lot of people in Texas, a lot of oil money that needs to travel between different stuff, real estate investors that are reviewing different kind of prospective deals. And then people that just need to be in multiple places at once. So your typical A-list celebrities and so forth.
And so you might know this one too as well. Why charter versus buy? Why, if you got 500 million, why not play the depreciation game in?
Well, it depends on how much you're buying for, right? Like our partners bought.
A little one. Don't even drop that. He's
They're
gonna laugh at you, bro.
What, like a Citation or like a Cessna or something?
Eclipse 500s.
Okay.
But they were $875,000 when we bought them, and they were $2.5 million to build. It was a good investment at that time.
Gosh, you're not.
That's a great fun airplane.
It is a fun airplane.
You have your license, right? You fly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's tight, but I mean, it gets the job done. If you have quick little hops, I mean, that's what aviation's for.
We had to go to a property in San Diego, and it was Friday, and I had to get back for Shabbat.
Yeah.
And I just totally
Perfect
bailed on him
airplane.
and hopped on the plane and came home.
Yeah. That's
what it's meant for. I mean, it's definitely not a Gulfstream, but I mean, we notice a lot of customers have a lot of different needs, right? You have customers that, only flying Gulfstreams need a flight attendant need the whole kind of shebang. And then some of our clients, it's funny, like our highest net worth clients are, I just need a jet. I just need to get there. I don't need anything fancy.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that the economics work if you're purchasing a jet just for the purposes of chartering it, as opposed to a hybrid of chartering it and utilizing it when needed.
Buying a jet without an actual use doesn't make sense. Buying an airplane is very expensive. It's similar to like yachts. Like buying a jet itself isn't necessarily the most expensive, right? Like you can buy a used G4 for like $5 million, right? But you park it at Van Nuys. All right, do you want to park it inside a hangar or outside, right? So inside a hangar, so we can protect it from paint, heat, and stuff like that. $20,000 to $30,000 a month. If we're doing full Part 91, so my own pilots, we have 2 pilots. There's a pilot shortage, so pilots make a lot now. So it's like $250 a pilot. So it's $500,000 right there.
dang.
Then you have a flight attendant. So add in some money there. There's a big pilot shortage. I mean, it's kind of coming back, but again, there's the airlines are paying a lot, so you have a lot of people that are leaving the kind of charter side going to the airlines, and a lot of people that just hit their 1,500 hours going right into a lot of the airlines and kind of charter side. So it's really hard for a lot of these companies to retain pilots, because if you're a pilot, working at a small charter airline, maybe making $150, $200, if United's going to offer you $200,000 to $300,000 guaranteed, essentially your last job ever, why would you not take that gig, right? The job security, the benefits, and so forth. So it's hard for people to keep pilots.
Dang, I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's interesting.
So, there we have insurance. Well, you're insuring the airplane, the 2 engines, and the APU. We then have updating the navigation database every single year. You have scheduled maintenance. So similar to cars, every X number of miles, you're putting it in for like an oil change. On a jet side, you have scheduled maintenance on different parts. So every X number of cycles, the airplane, the engines may need to be overhauled. It's a couple $100,000, assuming they didn't even find anything wrong, right? And then you have unscheduled. All right, pilot has a hard landing and blows a tire. All right, well, now we need to replace the gear assembly. That's $250,000 right there. So buying just really cheap. Maintaining it is very, very expensive, which is why, I mean, again, like relative to the market, I'm going to guesstimate here. It's like 60, 75% of private jets are on the charter side. So you have these airplane owners that have a jet that don't want to spend $1 million, $2 million a year. So they're going to lend it out to a 135 operator, like the company I mentioned.
Got it.
And say, hey, rent this out for me and essentially help me offset my ownership cost. You're never really going to make money. And it's kind of a catch-22. Yeah, you're offsetting your fixed ownership cost by chartering it out, but the more your airplane's chartered out, the more wear and tear it has, the more it's going to get ruined. Like red wine and crayons and kids and pets are banned from a good majority of private jets.
Okay, so if you wanted to charter and you didn't own your own plane, can you pretty much guarantee that you're going to be able to get one?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, like if you want to book it 2-3 weeks from now, yeah, I mean.
What if I'm like, I need to leave tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, our record from someone calling us to taking off is 1 hour and 13 minutes. So we can get pretty quick. I mean, it depends. Like, for example, let's say you're in, I don't know, like what happens all the time. Clients are in the middle of nowhere, the United States.
Well,
the
availability
airline
of plane and
screws
crew,
them.
right?
Exactly. Like I had a client whose commercial flight got canceled. He was in like Fargo, North Dakota, and needed to get home that night. Well, it's 8 p.m., so most of the pilots are already dutying off for the evening. So you need an airplane that has enough crew duty for the pilots to legally fly from wherever they are to Fargo, North Dakota, pick them up, and then fly them back. So it's rare. Can it be done? Yes, but that's usually when you get into really high pricing, because while it may only be a 30, 40-minute flight, you're actually paying for like 9 hours because the airplane's flying from across the nation to pick you up. So most of the time, yes. Again, like we get so many calls, like even right now in the Israel kind of Palestine conflict, we had a lot of clients that we helped get out of Israel through Jordan.
No way.
Because the airspace enclosed in Israel, but Jordan's still open. So you can have Turkish airplanes that fly into Jordan and then fly you to Larnaca in Cyprus or to Athens, Greece.
Interesting.
So, but again, it's more expensive because you're paying for all these other additional legs that you necessarily wouldn't have before.
Okay, so when you started Amalfi, what did you have to do did you have to find the planes?
Yeah.
Did you have to buy the planes?
Yeah.
Walk us through that.
In my opinion, so very brief background on me. So I always wanted to be an airline pilot. My parents took me to Camera Outlets when I was a kid, so I used to watch the airplanes, wanted to go be an airline pilot. And I took my first flight lesson at Camera Airport when I was 12. And from then I was hooked. I was like, I have to be a pilot. This is awesome. Because there's no limit to take flying lessons, right? You're flying with an instructor. You can take a lesson at 9. I mean, you can't really do anything, but you technically could.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I kept flying, started flying a lot more seriously in high school, and I got my pilot's license from Van Nuys when I was 18. My goal was to go be an airline pilot, so I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, #1 aviation school in the world.
Oh, yeah, our
got
partner's son goes there.
Great school.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
They got in trouble for shooting a rocket up recently.
Interesting. I did read
Arizona.
something a little bit about that. Yeah, that's all right. But got my intro in there and then wanted to go be a pilot. So COVID happened, right? So all of my friends who had class dates from the airlines were saying, hey, there's no demand. We don't need you anymore. So they were getting furloughed and losing their class dates. Like so many of my pilot friends with full pilot credentials were driving like DoorDash in school because there was no way to get a job. So that's when I was like, damn, like, why am I spending all this money, taking out all this time and loans and stuff like that in order to become an airline pilot if nobody's hiring pilots? So I remember opening up Flight Radar 24, this like flight tracking app, and looking at the map, and it was just all private jets. And I was like, well, damn, that's it. During COVID, everybody's flying private. So I remember I did research on the space, right? I wanted to get in the private jet space. I always had a knack for business throughout high school. Started a bunch of different drop shipping companies, did Amazon FBA. So kind of knew that model. But nobody was hiring pilots. It was the perfect time. So I remember I created a fake email, James Middleton III. He was my fake rich person, right? And I reached out to all of our competitors, just Googled like private jet companies. And I was requesting a quote, I think from like LA to London or something like that. And a lot of these people reached out to me. And what shocked me is they were quoting me on airplanes, saying these airplanes could do things that they couldn't. Like one of them was a Phenom, similar to an Eclipse, that essentially said it can fly nonstop from LA to London with 12 people. And I was like, no, it can't. I remember Googling this guy on LinkedIn, and I was like, this guy used to work at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. How is he selling private jets? Like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And that's when I realized to be in the charter brokerage space, not becoming a direct air carrier, there's no regulation, which I thought was terrible, and I still think it's terrible. There's nothing that you need to do. There's no certification, no checks, no licenses. So I literally started a website, reached out to one of my best friends from high school, Calvin. He's the big finance kind of legal guy. And we started Amalfi Jets. And our goal was we were going to bring safety back into the industry because the vast majority of the people that are booking private jets aren't pilots. They don't understand the regulations behind it. And frankly, it was so easy for any of these companies to sell me a jet and literally buy a jet, hire 2 random people to be pilots. There was no like physical oversight. And a lot of the clients that are booking it through these companies have no idea. And even some of these brokers that are selling it aren't confirming that their airplane is operated by a 135 air carrier. So that was kind of the need for us. So I blame all of our competitors for forcing us to start this business.
Right.
And literally there was nothing. Created a website, had an email, boom, now we're Amalfi Jets. Now we just need to get customers. So I literally at my dorm would email 2,000 to 3,000 people a day until Outlook and Gmail blocked us and just say, hi, we're a jet company. Let us know if you need a next flight. We'd literally just Google like Los Angeles attorneys, Los Angeles CEOs, anyone that looked rich, got an email from us in 2 seconds. And since then, the business kind of grew considerably. Obviously, throw in our social media, and it absolutely changed.
So do you guys have like a circle of clients that you work with frequently and then some that you touch base with more randomly?
I mean, we have 2 main products. So we have our charter side, so just ad hoc flights when you need them. We have probably like 1,000 customers there. Some customers fly often, once every couple of days. Some it's like once a quarter. Some of them it's like a family trip that they'll do to like the Bahamas. And then on the jet card side, that's our kind of flagship product. It's kind of like a private jet gift card per se. It requires a minimum deposit of $100,000. You put that money into the account, and then as you fly, you just bill from that account. That account gets you fixed hourly rates across all 5 aircraft categories. So kind of a hedge against the market. If pricing is quite expensive, you just pay per hour. You avoid the repositioning fees and so forth. You have a dedicated team, certain benefits, and then you get bonuses. Meaning if you put in like $500,000 and you get a 5% bonus, you'll get $25,000 worth of free money in your account. So we have hundreds, if not thousands of customers that have put in a lot of money with us that just bill from that account. Some clients put in $1 million, never use it. We never hear from them ever again. I don't really know where they are. Some of them put in $100,000 and drain it every 2 seconds.
Right.
So that's kind of our 2 main programs. Now, in terms of how we actually get access to the aircraft, there's in the United States, probably, I think it's like last time I checked, it was like roughly 12 to like 15, 16,000 different airplanes that are available for charter. Everything from small light jets, even small like Eclipses and stuff like that, up to your Gulfstreams and Globals.
Right.
A vast majority of these airplanes are owned by high net worth individuals, people that have bought a jet thinking they were going to use it, realize they don't. Some people buy jets because, let's be real, I mean, it's awesome to own a jet. So they buy it and like, oh, that's awesome. And then they realize how much it is and like, well, I don't want to sell the jet, but let's kind of have it make some money. And then some of them are just kind of companies that, contractually the company makes them chartered out so they don't look like they're wasting shareholder money and stuff like that. They are operated by these companies. Think of them like private jet airlines. They're the actual Part 135 operators. So they're very regulated by the FAA.
Right.
They are the ones that hire their own pilots and they operate every single airplane. So every single tail of an airplane, similar to a license plate, is assigned to an operator. Meaning if I'm operator A, I can only operate these 3 airplanes with only my pilots, right? And these pilots have different hour requirements. How many hours, flight hours do they have? How many hours in type of the aircraft do they have? And very strict crew rest requirements. You can't fly for more than 12 to 14 hours without rest. And if you fly more than, I think it's 10, 24, so 10, flight hours within a day, you need a 24-hour rest period, right? So that keeps it very regulated. Those are the companies that we utilize. And and there's plenty of those, but even just that, the bare minimum isn't really enough for us. Because think about it. A pilot that gets hired at a company and learns their standard operating procedures, similar to like a new employee here, of like how do you do things. In a month, that's not really enough time for them to get comfortable with how your company operates, right? So we look for pilots that have been on the payroll for at least a year, right? Because a pilot that's been at a company for a year is very different than a brand new pilot that's new coming from another company with a completely different operating system. So we get very granular. So of that 15,000 airplanes, only about 3,000 of them meet our safety standards. 2 pilot crew always, because there's a lot of jets, like the Eclipse is a single pilot certified jet. We still need 2 pilots. Better for aeronautical decision making, better for insurance. We have insurance requirements, quality requirements, and so forth. So that's how we build our network. So when clients reach out to us, we have our own software that we built that essentially tracks all the airplanes. What's the best fit for this trip? We can reach out and provide the best kind of value. So that's why our model makes sense, because if you reach out to a company like us, you're getting kind of the best pricing across the entire market versus if you went directly to the 135 operators.
Yeah, I can even just, as you're explaining that, I can see how the background with digital marketing and, Amazon FBA, that.
Yes.
I get it.
Kind of drop shipping for jets to an
100%.
extent. Yes.
Yeah. So then it sounds like social media took you some time, though. It sounds like you launched it without it.
Yeah. I mean, our revenue grew pretty steadily within, since then. I mean, the great thing about this industry is like the people that fly private consistently fly private. I mean, we don't lose clients unless you give them a reason to leave. So, one bad experience, maybe the airplane that you sent them, the seat was dirty or something like that. Some clients get very upset. Most of our clients are very understanding. We have great customers. But yeah, I mean, we were just steadily growing through then from new clients, new marketing strategies. Like we did a bunch of email marketing, a bunch of different SEO stuff in order to get customers, all the way up to like I go to Equinox here and just speaking to everyone that I could. Hi, do you guys fly private? A good majority of my clients are literally at the Westlake Equinox, right? Yeah. So that helped. And then social media just completely changed the game.
When did you go on social?
So we actually on social like a year and a half ago. My girlfriend owns a marketing agency. She was the one that forced us to get on there, and we just kind of posted different videos. But we really started focusing on it when we hired kind of like more people on our marketing team. And that's when I was like, listen, like one of our videos thing got like 100,000 views, and we noticed an instant spike on the website.
Right.
I was like, well, hold on a minute. And then we got a bunch more flight requests, and people called the main line. And I was like, wow. So views and engagement correlates to an extent to engagement. Engagement correlates to revenue. Right. So I was like, great, it's a game. How do we just send everybody in the world to our website? Because the thing is, our industry, and we're launching a really big promotion next month that I think I can plug. We're declaring war on dinosaurs. So many of the companies in our industry started 20, 30 years ago by very conservative, older individuals that do the same thing every single month. We get hated on for our social media because it's unprofessional, it's ridiculous, it's not the way things have always been done. Exactly. That's the whole point. We need to shake it up to an extent.
I will join you.
Yes.
I would lean into that so hard.
Yeah, we get that too.
So we are just essentially declaring war on all the dinosaurs in this industry and how archaic that is. So our social media allowed us to be authentic, allowed us to personify the brand. Because at the end of the day, we're not going to outbrand these companies that essentially invented private jets.
Right.
But we can be more ridiculous than them because they can't. Right? So that's why, I mean, you guys have seen our socials. It's ridiculous, it's loud, it's crazy, but it gathers so much engagement that, I love the phrase, better known beats best.
100%.
We provide a great service, but we buried everybody in terms of social media content. And posting loudly and consistently allows us to be top of mind.
Are you? What's the platform you guys use more than anything? TikTok or Instagram?
Well, that's the thing. So we post on everything: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, even Snapchat. We got clients from Snapchat that we post on.
Crazy. What's the favorite though? At least for you or the media team?
Probably TikTok. TikTok goes the most viral. We have 2.8 million followers on TikTok. We get the most views there. But it's interesting because our qualification rate of customers varies per platform. TikTok, we get the most views. And we noticed a lot, like for example, we first started posting on social media, I was so against it. I was like, our goal was we wanted to be like the Ritz-Carlton of private jets. Well, everybody does, right? And there's no way we're going to outbrand everybody. So I remember I was so against it because I was like, there's no way we're going to get high net worth quality people from TikTok.
Yeah, you sound like Michael.
True, to an extent.
Whoa. Actually, that's true. I did
Really?
say that.
To an extent, because we may not reach them directly, but we reach their kids. Yeah. And their kids tell their parents, or their grandkids tell their parents, or friends tell friends. So TikTok reaches more people. We get more notability. That reaches the kids. Instagram and YouTube are where we get the clients themselves.
Yeah, you're
the more boomer customers.
I bet you your
Reels
breakdown
like
feels so similar to ours.
Yeah.
Instagram's the same way for us.
Yeah, but we even started getting more granular because like we've done some funny collabs with more relevant like younger influencers. Great, like one of our biggest videos got like 50 million views across everything. It was like 150 million views. Like that day on our website, we had like 100,000 people on our website. It was awesome. And we got a lot of leads. But the sales team instantly was complaining. They're like, Kolin, I spoke to like 30, 12-year-olds today that just want to speak with you. Like, we got to fix this.
Yeah.
So we started noticing that if we change the content, meaning every single person that pretty much flies private golfs. I'm terrible at golf, right? The amount of times that I've turned down tee times at Sherwood and North Ranch because I have no idea how to golf. So we flew to Scottsdale and we filmed me golfing. I got a golf lesson. And literally, I remember the video was like, rate my golf swing. And suddenly, who is that reaching? The golfers, which are higher net worths. And instantly, our lead flow completely changed. We went from like a 5% qualification rate to like a 35% qualification rate, right? It's great. So what else do high net worth people? Watches. I love watches. So we went to New York and we filmed a bunch of watch videos where I bought a bunch of Rolex GMT Master 2s. Great. Now we got on Watch Talk getting these customers. I'm into cars. We had a Ferrari F8 that we drove for a couple of days that now got the Ferrari collectible people, which are super high net worth people. So it's fun now to the point where it's like we can get very creative with what we want to promote and like who we necessarily want to reach. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the consistency is that we post 2 times a day. We have 4 accounts. We have the Amalfi account. We have my own personal brand account. We have the Reserve account, which is our membership that we have through the app. And then I launched a podcast, which we're kind of redoing a little bit, but we had some really cool people like Ryan Serhant, Chris Voss came on our podcast, co-founder of Equinox. We had a lot of really cool people on
Chris Voss is cool.
Yeah, super cool guy.
You did a personal brand?
Yes. So we actually did the personal brand after because the original Amalfi content was just the team. But the problem is like it was a lot of different employees. I mean, we were growing, so kind of some high turnover. So it's like we'd post about someone and they wouldn't be in the company more. So it's kind of awkward. So that's when we just started posting more of me, which again, I was very against. I was like, listen, I'm 24. Most of these customers at this point, I guess it was 22 or 21. Most of the people didn't, I assumed, were like, listen, this guy's a kid. Why would we fly with this company versus some of these older, well-established, well-resourced, well-capitalized companies? But I was like, you know what? Screw it. We need to kind of have that face. So I was just like, screw it. I'll be in all the content. And from then, that's when people, I mean, to the point where I remember I was at the gym one time and someone walked up to me who I've seen like every single morning for like the past year. And he's like, I like your videos. So you kind of start to get recognized to that point where I was like, yeah, we do need to launch the personal brand. But the brand there is, I don't want to be that young 24-year-old social media influencer. We want to be the standard for aviation. So the personal brand needs to come back to what are the values of the company and how can we show that off? So again, things that are relevant though. Golf, watches, cars, aviation. You know, I still fly every now and then at Van Nuys. So that's how we launched the personal brand, which feeds into it. Because if you go to the Kolin account, all of that engagement, the CTA is to go back to the Amalfi page. Yeah. And we kind of push people back and forth between the two.
Everything organic right now?
Yeah, we do no paid. So we right before we posted on TikTok, I think we spent like $10K on Google ads. But the thing is, everyone does Google ads. So the cost per click and how much you're betting against a lot of these other companies on these keywords is really difficult. You get creative. You can I saw one company doing keyword ads on the specific tail numbers because you're only looking at that tail number if you're flying private. So it was a good kind of idea. But again, it's really easy to, in my opinion, start hemorrhaging cash on Google ads. And I was like, if we're going to spend 30 grand on this to maybe get a customer, I don't like that ROI. Like again, like I bootstrap. Like Calvin and I, we never took any investors or anything like that. So I would consider us better than a lot of these like VC backed companies that piss away hundreds of $1 million every 2 seconds of like we understand the value of $1. So almost to the point where I'm like super cheap about stuff. So the one thing that we are doing is I was like, all right, instead of spending 30 grand on that, what if we chartered a private jet to Vegas to show off the experience? But then in doing that, we create a YouTube vlog. Now we're creating 40 or 50 pieces of short form content. And then we can invite other influencers on the jet. So now we can combine the reach out. So that's what we're doing tomorrow, which is great.
And you're going where?
Go to Vegas. So we're filming a fun video where I fly private to Vegas and Josh and our team fly Spirit. So we race to Vegas and see who beats there. So clearly we're going to win.
Who comes up with these ideas? Is this you or just a creative team?
No, we have a fantastic marketing team.
That sounds like it.
Yeah.
Wait, so you went undervalued on keeping a team in-house versus outsourcing it. Why do you focus on building everybody from within?
I just think in order to build a scalable company, maybe a controversial take, you have to do things in-house. I feel like there's a lot of agencies that are selling different things. And it's like, I see a lot of like privately on the side, I've done some like private consulting for like kind of startups. And there's so many people that have like, I don't know, 100 grand to start their business, but then they want to hire an agency to do everything. It's like, in my opinion, to be a founder and to build a company, you need to do everything yourself so you understand what works. And I think having full-time people in-house allows them to really believe in the mission. Companies should always have a mission greater than themselves. Ours is to grow revenue, yeah, but it's really, we're changing the aviation space. Every single one of our competitors is on TikTok. Full offense to them, I hate our competitors. They're spending millions of dollars probably on all these fancy videos with this fancy music. People in socials don't care about that. It's a jet, yeah, it's great, it's sexy, but you need to be different. And I mean, we're so aggressive and loud that at this point, frankly, for them, it's too late because we've done it so much that all the comments on the videos are Amalfi Jets is better. You're just trying to copy Amalfi Jets, which is funny because some of these companies have been around like maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years longer than us, but we were just 10 times louder than them.
Dang, because that's kind of contrarian to how I would have assumed your age would go about building. Like it seems like
I'm very old fashioned. So like,
Yeah,
for
it sounds
example,
like it.
we're being on an office. I'm the biggest anti-remote work person ever. I don't believe it. If people want to work remote, they can take PTO. That's fine.
My guy. My
Right?
guy.
It just doesn't
My
work.
guy.
Also,
Yeah,
I
it
hate
sounds
the
so
remote.
yeah.
I hate remote.
every single, and I feel like, frankly, like it's very hard because we're a younger company, and as we've been hiring, it's very hard to hire. Like we hired a bunch of software developers, and getting people to come to the office, freaking 3 days a week, was a hassle because they're working at these companies that are unlimited PTO, full remote, with like these fancy campuses. I think in order to grow, in order to build, you have to have everybody under one roof. We want to have a marketing sync, great. I'll walk 3 feet and we'll meet at a table. Oh, sales has a question for marketing, great. Walk 2 feet and go speak with them. Like we need, we're curious what our biggest jet that we're booking is. Great. Hey, sales team, can you guys all come here really quick? Can you show me what are we booking? Marketing's running a promotion. Hey, we just posted 8 TikToks. How many qualified leads did we get? I don't know. Let's all talk about it. So having people in office, having people that are not agencies that work for the brand can get them kind of embedded with that company culture. And I mean, I'm so proud of our team because everybody believes in what we're doing. Like we have a channel called Competitors. And anytime any of our competitors mention us or take a stab at us, we post it there. And it's really interesting to see that some of these big companies are modeling some of the products that we offer, modeling some of the TikTok and kind of social media strategy that we offer. But it's like we've forced everybody kind of to change and to do better. And it's been really, really rewarding for a lot of people on our team to see.
That's cool. It's interesting, man. Like I mean, everything you just said is really like our framework. I've never liked the remote, but I'm older. Like for me, that's normal. Like, that's cool to hear.
It's
younger,
hard to build culture in a remote environment.
Yeah, that's
And I
right.
think it's very common now, but that's the thing. Like being the person that bootstrapped, that I remember, like for the first, the company's 5.5, 6 years old now. For the first 3 years, I never took a salary.
Right.
So literally being the brokest I've ever been and seeing everyone on your team make money and trying to have money to hire people, and then half of people say, oh, my stomach hurts, I'm going to work remote on Friday. Like, oh my God, like I make no money. Like, why are you complaining about this?
Right.
That kind of, I think, instilled part of my hatred with remote, obviously paying the bills. But I think that having someone in the office working around a team will never, and it's so controversial, never, ever be anywhere near as good as remote work. I can't imagine it would be that good.
I think a lot of people are coming back to that realization now.
Well, I
the
think a lot
commercial
of
market
leaders are. A lot of the CEOs or
Yeah.
the
It's
decision.
just, that's a hard ship to turn back around at this point. But
Yeah.
it's turning.
Yeah, it's turning.
Yeah, I mean, we're very transparent. Like one of our job postings, I was like, hi, under no circumstances do we ever support hybrid or remote. Under no circumstances ever. If you want remote, please apply to our competitors because I'm sure they would offer that, right? Simple. Like we're very transparent. I feel like it's hard for a lot of companies that have, remote policy and then want to push this harsh, return to office.
Yeah.
So I think that's hard, and I do understand that to an extent because people are building their lives around that. I mean, because then you get into like a cost of living situation. California is very expensive. If you go remote, yeah, in theory you can get better candidates because it's cheaper, it costs you less.
Yeah.
But again, the quality of work in office, I just don't think will be as effective.
Interesting. A lot of people are going to look at you and say 24 years old, had the company for 5 years. He lucked out. Everything worked in his favor.
Didn't have
Talk
to
about-
take a check
yeah,
for
Talk
3
about some of
years.
the challenges.
Oh yeah, there's so much. I mean, Amalfi.
Because a lot of people are not going to realize. Like,
Well, actually,
We
you
almost
through
went
a slew
bankrupt
of them.
10
you know what? I'm
times.
gonna add to it if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Because we're going in the same direction. You started at how old were you?
19.
19. So 19 didn't pay yourself. 19, 20, and 21.
Yep.
Right. I guess the first question is how.
Yeah.
So let's start with that. How
Yeah.
did you start a company at such a young age
Yeah.
and not pay yourself for the first 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky. I started it out of my college dorm. Calvin was, back here. He was in college too, so I was on the meal plan, so I didn't have to pay for food. Obviously, had room and board at school. And throughout high school, I started a bunch of different online e-com businesses. So I'd saved money that in the event the company didn't work, I could afford to do that. I mean, I feel like every young business, there was a problem when Calvin and I started it. I mean, we both, in the beginning, just were like, oh, we have a company, great. We can just use the business card for everything, until I was like, probably shouldn't do this. So we kind of separated that very early on. But honestly, like I would say, yes, we got lucky, but I also think that we outworked everybody. And I think that's the biggest difference of, yes, you can get lucky, but you can also just be smarter. For example, when we needed customers, and I kind of liked having that financial pressure. I remember we hired our first employee. This was 2021. We couldn't afford it. We absolutely couldn't. But I was like, if we hire someone, maybe that'll get us more sales and it'll force us to work harder. And honestly, it did.
Your first hire was
Yeah.
a salesperson?
Yeah, salesperson. And I was like, well, we couldn't afford payroll. Like, there was nowhere we're going to miss payroll. So we had to sell something. I remember that pressure was kind of good to an extent. So what did I do? We went to Google and I Googled all of our competitors, went to reviews. Most people that leave reviews leave it with their name, right? So great. There's a free client list of every single person that's ever used any of my competitors. And the better part is the people that left 1-star reviews with their first and last name, even better. And I have my literal client list because I hate this company. If I reach out, it's perfect timing. So we did that a lot. Even on Instagram, most of our competitors were dumb and they tagged their clients on their Instagram. Great. I could just log into the Amalfi Instagram and DM them. Hey, so you flew with XYZ Jets. I'll give you $5,000 off your next flight if you book with us, just to try us out. Easy money. Yeah, piss off the competitors, but their fault for tagging them, right? And I think throughout that, like getting really creative, but also tracking the data. From day 3, we had our own CRM system. We had HubSpot from the very beginning. And having a CRM system to keep track of everything, but also to organize your data. So every single sale, we would literally have a postmortem. How did that happen? Where did they come from? To the point I would just call them. Hey, John, so you booked a jet with us. How'd you hear about us? Oh, I saw you on Google. Great. What did you look up? How'd you find us? Okay, great. And who else did you call? Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, John, so sorry. What did they quote you? And what did I quote you? So we got all of this data every single time. And you could use that to make decisions. So that, again, just at scale over the past 5-6 years got us to this point.
How in depth does the client experience have to be for chartering?
Very in depth. I mean, when you have people that are spending a lot of money, you're going to expect a lot better.
What's the average? Is there like an average spend? Like, what's the average person spend with you guys?
It depends on the customer.
40 grand, 50 grand?
Well, the average flight is 47,000.
Okay.
And that's your typical like Van Nuys to Teterboro on board a Gulfstream, average like round trip and stuff like that. Roughly about 47,000 across the board. Average annual spend for people on our jet card programs about 300 to like 500,000 per person.
Whoa. Sorry for the interruption. I have a big update. We just got 3 new apartment buildings that we're putting into Fund 6, and it's in a market that is extremely undersupplied. So if you've always wanted to jump into real estate because you might want passive income, tax benefits, or appreciation, we might have the offering for you. If you want to check it out, it's communecapital.com/fund6. I'll put the link in the description as well. Now let's get back to the interview. But it's your job, though, to manage the experience because you're basically pairing the client with the jet.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's kind of white labeling to an extent. I mean, again, like we have the operating partners, but it's our experience. We have our own quotes, our own itineraries there. So right now we have 2 people on the flight ops team. So sales team books a trip immediately within a minute. They're getting an email from the sales team or the ops team. Thanks so much for booking. Here are the details. Here's our itineraries, the tail number. We need this information from you. How can we help? And it's always, backed up by a phone call. So, hey, want to let you know I'm working on your trip. I'm the point of contact. Here's how it's handled. And then on flights out of LA, we send a physical rep. So when they fly with us, when you're flying on, out of Van Nuys, we have someone there from the Amalfi team meeting you in person. The airplane has the full Amalfi brand on it. We have the rug, the brochures and stuff like that. So from the client's perspective, it looks like it's Amalfi's airplane. But we're very, very attentive. We build really good customer profiles. So if you were to fly with us and you were to order catering, that'd be saved. So your next flight, we would just pre-order it. And we would say, hi, here's what we have on file from you. Is it accurate? Even if some customers don't do it, like don't mention it, right? Their next flight, it's already on board. And I think that's the experience that we want to provide of you don't even need to ask for it, it's there. So getting very, very attention to detail, but like knowing very particular things. For example, a client of ours, let's call him Steve, he takes a lot of business meetings on the airplane. So he needs Wi-Fi that's fast. So we want Ka band Wi-Fi. And then with there, right, something like Viasat, we can have that Wi-Fi on board. We'll verify it. So the airplane that we're using, we'll make sure it has that Wi-Fi. Now let's say that he always likes to sleep. All right, so if he's flying on a Gulfstream, we need one with a couch in the back. We need the flight attendant to pre-make the bed 30 minutes after takeoff because it gives him time to work and then sleep. And then after that, he likes Voss water instead of Fiji and likes, I don't know, like Health Nut or Erewhon or something like that. We already know all that. We have one good success story, so that's built into the profile. So when you kind of dispatch a trip in our system, it just pre-fills that information, pre-orders it. So
what's the sickest plane you have access to?
The sickest plane. That means a lot of things for a lot of different people. The baddest airplane, in my opinion, is the Global 7500. It's the same airplane that Kylie Jenner has. Hers is parked at Camarillo. It has 4 zones. You have 4 captain's chairs. You have 4 seats here. You have a couch with a TV, and then you have a bed in the back. Some of them are even configured to have showers. That airplane's range is roughly about 7,500 nautical miles. So essentially, one fuel stop away from anywhere in the world. Realistic, you can get from here to Australia, here to Asia. It's amazing. It is comfortable, quiet. Charters for about 14 to 15,000 an hour.
Wow, what's the price tag to purchase it?
$76 million. Right now you can pick them up used, a little bit cheaper. It's like 68, 69 million, but they're new and they're great. Then you have, rare for clients to have these, you have like a Boeing business jet. So like your Southwest Airlines, but in a full private jet configuration, which is funny because Southwest Airlines, their 737-7, which is what the BBJ is, configured for commercial use is like 198 people. On a private jet, it's only up to 22 people. Even though you could physically fit a lot more, there's so much space. It's a great airplane, but it's a trade-off. While it is bigger, all right, now you're limited to where you can land. Right? If the runway is too short or too narrow, we can't take the big jet there. That's why Jeff Bezos has the new Gulfstream G700 and two G650s. He could afford a freaking 747, but it's just impractical. You can't really go anywhere with it, right? And you're forced to use the larger commercial airports, whereas if you flew privately, you can fly into a small regional. Like from here, LAX right now with PCH, when it was closed, it was like an hour and a half. You can fly into Camarillo, probably like 20 minutes away from here, or Van Nuys. In a 737, you can use both. In a 747, you can only use LAX. You can't land that at Van Nuys.
For people, because you have such a big presence on social, how many people or clients are you speaking to personally or that want to speak to you because you're on so much of the content?
I would have thought we'd get it a lot more. A lot of people are, okay, man, we have a fantastic sales team. I handle personally probably about 10 customers.
The largest ones?
The largest top spending customers. We're a vendor with a couple of film studios, so I handle the film studios. A couple A-list celebrities that I'm like personally just big fans of. And then a couple of our top spending people, which is great. I mean, if I'm busy or something like that, that's been the struggle lately, just as the company's grown to where it is, 25 people, like I don't have time to sell stuff anymore. So kind of making those arrangements with our sales team. But again, like the service that I provide will be essentially the exact same that anyone else on the Amalfi team can provide.
What's your partner's name?
Calvin.
What's the dynamic between you two?
Yeah, so Calvin and I have been best friends since high school. He's very, very smart. So he handles everything on the financial, legal, sales, and operation side as we've kind of dumped into marketing. I handle a lot of our marketing, technology, and kind of overall vision. But he's really, really smart. He's always the guy that, like, I remember when we started growing and I was like, hey, can we afford this? He was like, sure. And I was like, can we? And he's like, yeah, I mean, as long as we sell XYZ, we could do it. So we kind of game plan that. But I mean, all the big decisions we always still meet and kind of take together. But he's a big European guy. So he's actually in Germany right now. So he's in Europe often. He has, I know his girlfriend there is in Europe. But Europe is probably right now our next biggest market. It's like 25-30% of the business.
No way.
So we're teeing maybe potentially opening up a Europe office maybe next year. Like
how do you balance out the, scaling and building without making sure you're not building too fast?
I think that's a good question. I feel like a lot of people build too fast. I mean, as long as you, in my opinion, remain profitable, I think that's good. I mean, if you're consistently negative to grow. But I think in the space, our social media has just allowed us to grow. We can reach everybody. Like Calvin was just calling me last week and I think he was in Stockholm and he was at the lounge and someone was like, oh, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I own a private jet company. And they were like, oh my God, like Amalfi Jets? And he was like, Amalfi Jets, like that one. So it's, I mean, I feel like on a business perspective, growing too fast comes down to what you're doing. In my opinion, I think you always need to be growing. If we wanted to grow our, like a typical corporate company, like 3 to 5% a year, I mean, shit, we'd just stay in our current office, not do anything, do the same things consistently. Because just based on kind of the growth rate of our clients, all the SEO and stuff that we do will eventually get there. But I mean, frankly, like I'm not happy with at least 2, 3, 4, 500% growth because there's so much room to grow.
So you need a physical HQ in Europe?
Yeah. Physical HQ in Europe allows us to have boots on the ground there, specifically in London. London to Paris is probably like the biggest market. And then all around Europe. I mean, there's a lot of customers there, but there's only like 2 or 3 companies in Europe that own the entire market. So we go head to head with them. And it's just a different culture aspect. Like I notice a lot of our US customers will fly to Europe and like working with us because we're obviously, they're used to the culture there, but there's just a culture difference, I think, in other companies. And I think just a different approach to how they do things.
Talk about that mindset, right? Because going into a market, just like you said, there are 3 or 4 big players, major barrier to entry. A lot of people would run
100%
from something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's, and I think that's a good point. I feel like a lot of people jump into businesses and markets they don't know a lot about and try to grow. The charter market is very basic in the same of it's very simple. You need to fly private. There's aircraft. We can help you get access to those. We're becoming more tech focused, meaning we have in-house software engineers that we're building our app, we're building our own software, and we're tracking every single freaking piece of data possible. So our European customers, it's interesting how they heard about us through social media, through different things like that. But we're tracking data on what the average spend is per customer. So we can use that to build our own algorithms of how we can get better, more instant available pricing. So again, looking at the big players over there, same thing. They're dinosaurs. They're companies that do the same thing. They don't do any sort of crazy creative marketing. They get people because they're just there. So that's the only way that people can find them. I mean, just on like a Google perspective, them having an office in London, if you Google private jet charter, Google's going to show them before anybody else because they're physically there. Great. So if we just freaking put our office right next to them, boom, now we're there. We'll rank and we'll get some of that business too. And I just think through like the globalization of the world, we have a lot of customers that travel to Europe and want the same level of quality, safety, and experience and be able to use their own money. Like our jet card program works in 33 countries. So no matter where you're flying within that PSA of our approved airplanes and operators, the pricing doesn't change.
Is that something that's unique to you guys, or do a lot of other companies do that?
We're the only company with a 33 country primary service area. Most of the other companies, it's contiguous, 48, kind of United States. Because most of the other companies that we compete with on a jet card and membership program are the operators themselves. So they have a fixed number of airplanes that are based there. Meaning, I'd imagine they're having consistent availability problems because you have people on your jet card program, you have a finite number of airplanes. I mean, you don't want to book them off fleet, sell them your pretty airplanes that you own, and then book them on some other airplane. So that's why they're stuck to the 48 United States, right? Whereas with us, we have the same quality standards that we have across the board. That took a long time to build up. I mean, there's plenty of airplanes that we started with that were, this meets our standards, not in terms of safety, but just like communication's terrible, the airplane. I remember this airplane in Europe, I was very upset. Like someone before him spilled like an entire bottle of red wine on the carpet and it looked like someone died on this airplane and they never cleaned it for like a couple months. So we didn't know that. And one of our clients, who's a good friend of mine, he sent me a photo and he's like, hey, this doesn't look good. And I was like, it doesn't look good. So we quickly removed that airplane. So that's why every single month now we get photos of the operators, like real photos of it, so we can stay up to date on the aircraft and kind of maintain those quality standards across the board.
So what's the hardest thing about your business? Like, what's the big, is there a big pain point?
I would say there is not, I'd say it's two things. There's two big problems in the industry. Three. First, safety. There's so many companies that we compete with that don't know what the hell they're talking about. And there's literally no barrier of entry. If you guys wanted to start your own company, be in the jet space and compete against us, there's literally nothing preventing you from doing that. If you wanted to use your friend's airplane and charter it out, pretty much nobody would stop you. That's a problem. There's no training required. So the amount of sales reps that have told our customers things that aren't true, where clients won't book with us because he's like, Kolin, your jet's too expensive. And I'm like, all right, show me what you got from this other company. And I'm looking at this airplane and I'm like, this airplane is not on anyone's 135 certificate. Like, whose jet is this? And he was like, oh, it's like his friend's airplane. That's what I hear every single day. Oh, it's my friend's jet. It's so dangerous. Okay, well, how are your friends' pilots? When did they get their recurrent training? 6 months ago? 10,000 years ago? How many hours do they have, right? So safety is a big one. Two is, I would say, how manual it is. A lot of companies in our space have started, raised a stupid amount of VC money to bring AI into the jet space and have just gone BK and wasted everybody's money. And it's happened in the past 6 years, probably at least 10 times. Because their aviation can be done. I mean, I feel like similar to real estate, there's like aspects where a lot of people want to come in and throw tech into everything. You can't really do that. In order to do it well, you would need to know the airplane's maintenance schedule, the pilot schedules. You would need to know the weather, know exactly where they are to get an instant booking. There's no way as of right now to get all of that data for the entire industry. People won't give you that data.
Okay, right? So what you're saying is a VC-backed company came in to try to make what you guys do all done through an app, through a platform.
And they went BK.
And it didn't work.
It just doesn't work. People don't want... AI is valuable. We use AI in a lot of our aspect of our business, but you can't just sprinkle AI in on a 30, 40-year industry and just change it all. So while we're very tech-focused, we're tech-focused with our own software that we're building to aid the current process, not to change it entirely. Like I always never and hate using the phrase like a disruptor or disrupting the aviation industry because every other company who said that does not exist anymore. So I feel like it's a curse to say that, kind of like Forbes 30 under 30.
Well, when you think about it, if you're coming in to disrupt, you're taking a shot at something that currently doesn't exist. So the probability of it failing in theory should be greater than the probability of success, right?
Correct.
But if it hits...
Then you're good. But the problem is just there's no way to do that. Like a lot of these websites have these instant private jet booking tools, right? There's just no way to do that realistically, because you reach out to us to get a jet. All right, we're calling, and we have a system that will send a note, and then we get pricing on what airplane's there. Well, let's say one company's airplane's based in Van Nuys, but the owner flew it to Hawaii. All right, well, if I just quoted it on that airplane saying, assuming it was in Van Nuys, and say, let's say it was 40,000, and I get the quote back and it becomes 80, because now that airplane needs to fly in from Hawaii. So the airplane's physically not there right now. So a lot of people will just try to look at the average price and essentially give you a formula and give you this instant booking. So a lot of customers will say, hey, Kolin, I can book this as instant booking jet instead. Go try to book it. What happens is they give you these very low numbers on purpose, so you ignore companies like us,
sure.
and then they go and try to find it, and then they send you that quote for 80,000.
Yeah.
And by the time you come back to book with us, it's a lot more expensive, because in the industry, we have an airplane that, let's say, is sitting in Van Nuys, and someone on the sales team sold that trip out of Teterboro. All right, well, essentially, that airplane needs to fly there. That's an empty leg, meaning as long as we can cover the cost of fuel, let's say maybe $8,000 to get that airplane from Van Nuys to Teterboro. Great. So if you reach out to me and say, hey, I need to get to Van Nuys to Teterboro tomorrow, perfect. I could sell it to you for $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, right? And get you there immediately. Well, if you use that instant booking tool told you it would have been 30,000. That's not accurate, because in this day, the perfect situation worked out. So the sales team is doing a lot of manual back and forth negotiating, which, again, can be improved, but you can't just throw AI on it and fix it. You need data, and we've been trying to collect as much data as possible.
Yeah, don't you think that this industry, because it's, I mean, you have a product for a wealthier client. Mm-hmm. You would think that the white glove service or having like a good client experience is probably very valuable for them.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like, your clients don't seem to be too sensitive to pricing, I assume, right? I mean,
yeah, I think that's a good question.
There's a range.
Yeah,
but
in this area, when you're dealing with private jets, it's not how much it costs; it's the level of service you're providing. Like, so many of our customers that are the richest customers will still fly commercial. Like one of our clients lives in, I think it's Miami, and was flying to London. He was like, I don't know why I would spend $250,000 on a private jet if I can just hop on first class and be there in the exact same time, which is true. But then the next day, he wanted to go to Salerno, Italy. All right. Well, if you wanted to fly that commercially, now you're looking at 2 stops. It's going to take 47 hours with the layovers. Whereas if you flew private, we could fly directly to Salerno.
Yeah, it's a convenience.
So it's the convenience factor.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's also the experience that you're delivering too. Just like, I mean, the fact that he keeps a record of the food that they ordered and make sure that it's on the next
100%.
So like that on the wall is something that we sent to our investors from one of our projects. So many of them called us afterwards and said, we've never seen anything like this. Cool. It's sick, So, what are you doing to differentiate yourself in a market where the investors or the clients aren't that sensitive to pricing?
Yeah. It's so interesting. So a lot of the stuff you're saying, like, there's so much crossover in our world.
Exactly.
Right? It's like when you're talking about an investment, the amount of people that are saying things that are not accurate or that they're not allowed to say, we have to battle it all the time.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
And it's funny, like we lost a lot of deals to clients that ended up booking with some of these instant booking tools. And I remember the sales team was like, yeah, the clients are dumb. And I remember I clapped back and I was like, no, we did not provide enough value in our marketing or in the sales process to show them how bad that is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's how we look at it. If clients are booking with these terrible companies, booking with these instant booking tools, or booking a jet with an unsafe company, we failed because we didn't provide enough value. So that's how we're trying to bring it back on the socials of how can we get engagement, show that, but also show that this is a real thing. So I think conversations like this are really great.
Well, you guys get a bunch of like groups trying to do like a jet suite style thing with you guys?
Every now and then. I mean, a lot of people, like, it's funny, like we get a lot of emails and I know the sales team has plenty of data of like, hey, I'm just comparing your pricing to Jet Suite. All right, well, it's very different. Jet Suite's a great company. It's a great model. No one can, I think, is doing what they're doing, but it's not a private jet. Right? Ours is a full private jet, leaving on your time. You show up, you go. Very different than Jet Suite.
Good point.
I'd say what we do get a lot is a lot of like bachelor trips to Vegas. A lot of guys will like charter a jet. Like, for example, if you book an empty leg on the Amalfi app, sometimes it's like 5-6K from Van Nuys to Vegas on a Hawker. So it's 8 or 9 people, depending on what type of Hawker it is. All right, we get 8 people that just split it. It's actually not that bad. If you split, a couple $1,000 between 8 people. So that's pretty common. But again, we have so many customers across the board, but that's why our CRM system tracks literally everything.
Right.
So if we can look at that and look into the data, how can we use this at scale, but also replicating the type of customer that we have? And that's the thing, like I would have assumed going into it that we'd have the same ICP. And I feel like a lot of people think, oh, founder, CEO, investment company. Yeah, but we've also had like house inspectors that are inspecting a $40 million house that get flown out by the owner because they want him to inspect this specific house. So that's a need for private jets. We had attorneys that are in a huge lawsuit that need to get there and meet with the client confidentially and come back. We have
I bet a lot of like mergers and acquisitions happen.
A lot of that, because you can't be doing that obviously in the airport.
Can't fly on the company plane.
Yeah, and if you're going to buy a company for $1 billion, you don't want to do it on a DocuSign. You want to show up and kind of do it in person. But we do get a lot of like construction companies and stuff like that will fly their team out. Because a lot of these smaller places in the middle of nowhere, there's no commercial service. So if they need to get a bunch of guys out to a couple different jobs, get materials and stuff and come back, if you run it commercially, it's like a 3 or 4 day endeavor. So now you have per diem for every person, you have a rental car, you have the hotel, you have time away from their family, the lost productivity. Whereas if you just send a Gulf Stream, you could do it all in one day and have everyone back by lunch. Right?
Interesting.
So you're literally putting time back in your pocket. And then we have our public companies that fly with us. This is my favorite thing. That's actually really funny. So a lot of public companies own private jets. Well, there was that one guy that was tracking Elon Musk's jet and like canceling him on the internet, right?
Yep.
So that happens to a lot of these public companies and even celebrities, alike, because their fleets are very public. So what happens if a public company is trying to acquire another company? Well, if you take your corporate jet and you're flying to the headquarters of your biggest competitors, what is the stock price going to do? People can use that to predict the stock price.
Correct.
Well, if you charter with Amalfi, how would anybody know that happened? You wouldn't. So you can buy that invisibility aspect. So we get a lot of public companies that fly with us to become invisible because people don't know you're flying with us. Yeah, in theory, our airplanes are trackable through some different things, but it's not public that they're flying with us. They don't need to disclose that necessarily.
I wouldn't have thought of that. I mean, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
That's so fascinating. Yeah. We all have this just like idea like, oh yeah, it's just like generational wealth or CEOs, principals.
It's not. I mean, there's some people that, in my opinion, should not fly private. We've had people split it across like 9 debit cards on themselves and be like, hey, do you do a firm afterpay? And I'm like, no.
Stop.
I'm like, are you sure you want to do this?
Stop.
Or
people are telling you and asking if you will do a layaway program on a private jet.
We've actually thought about it, but I was like, no. There's no way that we would ever do that.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
Is there a consistent message that you guys get on social that's like for us? For us, it's always investors shouldn't own real estate, right? It's like that's like the stop building apartments. Yeah. Is there one for you guys that's like a consistent? You guys are just a bunch of rich capitalists or something. Yeah,
I mean, we've got. It's funny. I've seen a couple of those. Like, oh, rich people suck. Okay, I mean, I feel like everybody at some point hates rich people. I think it's more of a jealousy aspect. But what we get a lot is, this is unprofessional. This is not the industry the way is. The industry's never been like this. Stop posting. You guys are a joke. Okay, I mean, that's like the whole point. It's the point where we've promoted it so much that it's funny because when people comment, like we have all of our like cult-like follower fans that are like, oh my God, you're the competitors. You guys are the worst. But at the end of the day, like I feel like that was the hardest part, I think, for me to get, kind of with, like, for example, one of our biggest competitors was able to meet the CEO years ago, and I was so honored to be on that call. I remember I hopped on the call with him, and I told him like our name of our company, and he's like, who? He's like, I've never heard of you guys. And he's like, what do you want? And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. Like, so sorry. To the point where I was at a kind of big event and he was there and I said, hey, and he's like, hey, good to see you again. Like, how are you? And then I heard from some friends that his company and his team was just completely just talking smack about us. So I think it's really interesting. It was really hard for me to get over of like having the competitors hate you. But I remember speaking with their team and it's like, if your competitors don't like you, that's like the whole point. That means you're doing something worth doing.
How many of your competitors have tried to buy you?
As of now, 2. Any serious offers? 0. To the point where our goal is to keep building. Like in the beginning, if they want to start the company, it's like, oh, we'll grow, maybe we'll sell or get, rolled up by PE. As we've seen what we're doing and the mission that we have, our goal is to be the leader in private aviation. We're going to bury everybody and create the standard for what flying private should be. So these competitors that compete with us, we've talked about, all right, what if we bought them and consolidated their client base? But realistically, they don't have anything proprietary about them. They don't have any sort of media presence. They have no tech. They do this very simple thing.
So you just buying their
if we want to steal their lead list, I mean, shit, we'll just post more TikToks and maybe they'll see it. Maybe they'll come fly with us, right? So I mean, our goal is to keep growing. We even talked about going public. That could be something interesting, but as of right now, we're just in full growth mode.
So no investor capital to this point.
Nope.
No plan on doing it unless you go public.
No, and that's the thing. Like we're, cash flow positive. We don't really need it. Like I remember I was at a lunch with one of our clients and he was like, all right, let's say, he's like, Kolin, you guys have a huge client base. He's like, if you wanted to raise money, you could probably just email all your customers and say, hey, do you guys want to buy a part of the company for like $1 million each? And he's like, you'd probably raise 20, 30 million bucks. Great. What would you do? I don't know, we'd probably just keep doing what we're doing. Like we wouldn't really necessarily need that $20-30 million. Yeah, we can hire 20,000 more people, sure, whatever. But realistically for us, I think we found what works. And that's the biggest thing of like, I think in order to not grow too quick, put money on what works and keep doing what works without overextending yourself into a bunch of crazy different things.
I like that.
Would you bring on investor capital
yes.
at this stage?
I don't know his world enough.
Yeah.
I know mine. Yes, for me. But that's the thing. Like, if you ask me, like, what would I do with $30 million? I can give you a pretty clear answer of what I would do that I'm not doing today. Right? Like, you know, that it's our industry's tough to grow.
Yeah.
If you don't bring on investor capital, your revenue growth is really slow in the beginning, right? Like the J curve is so real for us. And you're constantly taking the little capital you have and putting into more deals, right? It's why the common quote is real estate investors are cash poor but equity rich, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, like, it's like what? How many new people did we hire last year? 3? I would love to hire 20.
Yeah.
You know, so I personally like like how my kind of brain works. I have the vision. I want to get there. And I don't want to get there in 40 years. I want to get there in 5.
Yeah.
And usually I need investor capital to do that. My last business, I used investor capital. This business, we raise money for our projects, but we're raising money for the project, not for actual operating capital of the company.
Yeah.
We grow that from just revenue growth. So for me,
I mean,
for sure. But here's the challenge, though, right? For my space, it makes sense. Hearing everything you just said, I wouldn't raise money. There's no need. Why dilute? If you can't do anything with the money,
there's no reason to dilute.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. Like a lot of people are like, all right, well, what if you bought a bunch of jets? It's like, all right, well, the whole reason that we're in the space is, you know, we're kind of capital light. You don't need all these.
It's a different business.
Yeah. Exactly. And those companies, these 135 operators, have razor thin margins, 3, 4, 5% max. Huge liability, huge risk.
Yeah.
Not worth it.
Public for sure.
You get the public scrutiny, you have different reporting requirements.
He wouldn't stay in the company once he went public. That's the part I'm telling you. He'd go public.
Go public, hire a CEO, buy an island.
I'd move to a board seat. Yeah, he knows me too well. Yeah. Okay, everybody already... The majority of our listeners are going to know who you are. Even as you walked in, one of our sales guys looked at me and goes, really? Right? For anybody who is just tuning in, though, where can they find you guys on social? And then what's the quickest path to doing business with you guys?
We're at Amalfi Jets on everything. My personal account is at the Kolin Jones across all platforms. To reach out to us, go on the AmalfiJets.com, request a flight, or download the Amalfi Jets app on Apple and Google Play. You can book a flight directly in-app, chat directly with our team, and we'd love to help you out.
Big dog. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. It's great.